on a Saturday in July 1914 in Fraserburgh. I was a young fisherman up there, 23-year-old, going to the herring fishing. We come in on a Saturday and cleaned up the boat, and the men that belonged locally get away home, and we were left, of course, we were strangers. We just bed in the boats over the weekend. We get away our bed to hell I do it to make up for some of the sleep we hadn't gotten that week, because you didn't get much sleep when you're at the herring fishing. And shifting was Saturday that way, and get away ashore on Saturday night for a walk, and we did notice on the billboard that there was somebody shot away on the Balkans, but we just took a glance at it. We didn't take no more notice than that. There was somebody getting in trouble there. That was what we kent as the cook for Europe at that time. So we just passed the thing and never thought no more about it. Get away to the boat, get away to our beds. Got up on Sunday morning, had our breakfast, then come up and had a look on deck to see what kind of morning it was. We noticed quite a lot of groups of men doing on the pier, and we thought it peculiar to see men on the pier in groups at that time of the morning, on a Sunday morning. But we never took on any more notice than that. We get away doing below to hair wash and a sort of ourselves up for coming ashore. When there was two men come down the pier and shouted aboard, is there only R&R man there? I says, we're R&R man. Well, he says, you've got to be at the custom house at 10 o'clock today. God help us, what's this now? Something queer happened somewhere or other. Only while we was at the custom house at 10 o'clock. Along with maybe 150 more young fishermen for the west coast and for different places of the Moray Firth. And they took our particulars and told us to be up at the station at 1 o'clock. So we get word into the boats and just bundled all the gear we had and put it in our bunks and left our boat. Left our job. Get up the station and we left Fraserburgh at midday or about 1 o'clock, and we were in Portsmouth early next morning. Arriving in Portsmouth barracks, we found it like a beehive. There was so many reservemen coming from all directions, and they kept our party on a certain block, kept them together. And until they could get some order of some kind about the place, we were sent away right back to Fraserburgh again as a party, and told to report to the custom house nearest to us daily, and we would be told when to come back to Portsmouth. So within about a week, we were told to come back to Portsmouth again, and away we get, and there was quite a big crowd arrived that second time as well. And all the R&R men was under a certain age was put in a certain block and all kept together, along with some fleet reserve men, time served men and marines. And after a few days we were sent down to Walmer under canvas for field training. Down in Walmer we would have manoeuvres over the fields at next, and route marching through the day. That carried on for about a fortnight. Then one Sunday morning we got orders to pack up our gear and be ready to leave Walmer camp a Sunday morning. So we did that. We packed up, fell in, and were marched to Dover. Arriving at Dover, we was put on board a transport. The Mount Temple was her name. And we left that Sunday night for Belgium or France. I didn't know far we get. It might have been Ostend, I'm not sure where we landed, but thereabout anyway. We were kept in the dock area all that day, and when it come down almost dark at night, we were all put aboard our train again. And we did hear then that we were going to Antwerp. And there's to be no lights shown on that train on the journey to Antwerp. Away we get now on that train. We arrived in Antwerp about 4 o'clock in the morning. We marched out of the station through the streets of Antwerp to the outskirts road, and we were built in a big house. Not for long, just about a day, because when it come to next time again, we were filling again, and we were marched away through open country at this time. To the trenches around Antwerp. There was a belt of trenches around Antwerp, about 12 miles outside the city. Big forts with big guns on them, and trenches between the forts. And we marched out and arrived at that position next morning. When we got to the trenches, well, we thought we were going there to join in with the Belgian army and to buck them up somewhere or other. But when we got to the trenches were empty. There was nobody there. We never saw a Belgian soldier. Well, we were in that trenches all day. Now everything was very quiet. In front of the trenches there was a big expanse of moorland and a wood at the other side of it, maybe about a couple of miles or 3 miles off the trenches. And we could see movement in that wood. And there was also an observation balloon flying just above it. And we could see that the movement we saw was Germans. They were in bulk in that wood, ready for an attack on Antwerp. Well, there was nothing much doing that day, but when night come now, we were told to stand at the ready on those and look out over those trenches in case that anything happened through the night. Well, we're standing, leaning over that trenches, listening. You couldn't see anything, it was dark. There was a doors of barbed wire in front of the trenches, and sometime during the night, somebody fired a gun. I don't know why, they maybe thought they heard something. Anyway, an awful lot of merfolk fired at the same time. But there was nothing happened anyway. And daylight came on in the morning, still nothing doing. And we were ordered to retire, to leave those trenches and go back about 300 or 400 yards and dig into the Fraserburgh brae. And we did that. And while we were doing that, there was a plane come over and manoeuvred over a Venice fairly high for about half an hour and get away again. And the officer said that there'd probably be an attack in the early forenoon. And they were running about down there. They were excited, Alex. They were amateur soldiers as well as we were amateurs. And there was one running back and forth yonder crying, "Aim for the knee." When you see them coming over the trenches, aim for the knee. That was in case where bullets rose. That was their inclined to do when you fire a gun. Carts and barrows and bicycles and civilians, mostly women and bairns, and we made off a slow time out getting back to Antwerp, but we eventually did get back. Got through the town to the dock area and got across the river on a bridge of barges. We wasn't sure where we was. We wondered why we was retiring. We wondered where we was retiring till. Some of us wondered, was we in Holland after we crossed the river? But we certainly wasn't that. We got orders to get on the march again. And we marched until about early afternoon, and we reached a little town called St. Nicholas. There we stopped. We lay down a field to rest, and we were in rest at that time, and sleep and food. We got something to eat, and most of them just fell asleep on the field, of course. Well, when darkness come down, we got orders to get on the go again. They told us we were to march till a certain place on the railway between Antwerp and Ostend, and there a train would stop and take us on and land us back in Ostend. We did that, stopped at a certain place on the railway, an open country, and lay down alongside the railway in the field. No noise or no smoke or anything of that kind was allowed. And after a while, a train did come up, coming very, very slowly, but it come up and it stopped right where we was. And of course, when the train stopped, we got up to get aboard of it. But we found that it was not the train that we thought it was. It was coal wagons kind of things, with seats across them. And there were chock full of civilians, women and bairns and men. Some were wrapped with white blankets round about them. And, well, you couldn't get on the trucks. You got one leg aboard and one leg out over. That was as far as you got. After a while, the train started again. But, oh dear, dear, you could have crawled faster than that train was going. But after it went for a certain distance, suddenly there was firing that come from both sides of the railway line, behind the hedges. And the train stopped at once, of course. Well, speaking about myself now, I jumped down and I got on below the wagon, and those wagons had those solid wheels, and I got behind the wheel, and well, you didn't get what to do. There's nobody to tell you anything. But if you fired, you could only fire for you saw a flash of fire coming behind the hedge. After a while, a big Marine officer come running down, along with a Jerry officer, crying, "Lay down your arms, lay down your arms, for the sake of those civilians on the train." So we'd nothing to do but obey orders again. We let through down our guns, and we lined up. And then the Jerry's come along and begun to search us. They put their hands over you, and they spoke in German and to you, of course, you know what they were saying. But there was in searching me, and I had something of the breast pocket of my navy jumper. I didn't get what it was. It must have been a purse with money on that, and I can. Only way he felt it when he's passing his hands over me, and he showed angry looking at my face, and he pointed the revolver too near to be comfortable into my face, and I didn't know what to do. But the only way I put my hand in this push somewhere there, automatically, and took it, but it wasn't showed him it was all right. He got a wash in. Well, after they done their searches, we were marched away under the Jerry's this time now. And we marched to a little village called, I believe it was called Exardy. And we were put in a kirk there. That kirk must have been used for servicemen of some kind before that, because there was quite a lot of straw spread between the seats. And the pulpit was in the middle of it, near like in the kirks at home. Right in the middle of it, but it wasn't a minister, it was in that pulpit, it was toward German soldiers with guns, keeping the lookout. And we were in that kirk all that day now, until darkness come at night again, and they took us outside and formed us up outside, and to force, and marched us away. We didn't get far who was being marched all at that time. Now you just had to do what you was told. We're marching in the dark, total darkness along a road. I ken we were marching through woods, but we were so fatigued. I was so fatigued and with hunger and for want of sleep that I could have sworn that at that trees were building sometimes. We kept marching, and after a while I heard singing, and that singing was gradually coming nearer and nearer and nearer. And I think to myself, I ken that tune, I've heard that many a time. And it was a hymn tune. It was in the hymnary, glorious things of thee are spoken. And but of course it wasn't that they were singing. But I thought for a minute it must have been British soldiers. But the singing come nearer and nearer and nearer until they come up to us and past us. It was a troop of German soldiers singing Deutschland über alles. I'd heard Deutschland über alles many a time during the next 4 years. I kenned it well by that time, of course. Well, they passed it and we carried on now. A while after that, we must have been hours on that road. There was firing started. What the firing was or why the firing was, I don't know. But besides those Jerry guards made us lie down in the middle of the road with our arms right out in front of us, and they are on the one side of the road facing us, and brought the rifles down to the ready. And there we had to lie, wondering what was going to happen now. I wonder if this is how they're going to do it now. This is the finish. But after a while, a lying, we got orders to get up again. And we carried on marching, and in the forenoon, we come to a tune called Termonde, or Termonde, or something of that kind. We marched to the railway station. Of course, there was no railway station there then, and there was, but by that time it was a mass of rubble. And there we had to wait now until there was a train ready to take us to Germany. After 2 or 3 hours, there was a train coming, composed of box wagons. So much in a wagon, about 40 or 60 men in a wagon, and a German sentry inside way. Everything was closed up, and that was you. Train started. Off we get. I don't know how long we was in that train. It must have been days and days, and I would say about 3 days. How we fared in that 3 days, I couldn't tell you. I remember getting something at one place, soup or coffee or bread or something of that kind. But anyway, we eventually reached Germany, and we reached a station called Dobritz. At Dobritz station we come out and we marched up a hill until a prisoner of war camp. It was one of the new camps that they'd built, because they built them on a hurry. The war started on a hurry, and they built the camps on a hurry. And when we got there, they lined us up, and they searched us again. They gave us a horse blanket, a tablespoon, and a tablespoon, a horse blanket, and a straw sack to lie on. Then we were taken and put on a big tent, or a tent that would have maybe 150 men, I suppose. That must have been a cavalry training ground at some time or other, because there was 12 horse trucks in front of every tent. Anyway, we got into that tent and we laid down where donkeys' breakfast, as we called them, up one side and down another. And there we were now, prisoners of war in Dobritz camp. Well, in the morning, they served us with a pint of coffee. It was, well, they called it coffee, but it wasn't a coffee, it was burnt grain or some kind. There was nothing on it, there was no milk nor sugar, nothing of that kind, but it was hot, and it was welcome because it was hot. We got that in the morning. We got a ration of black bread, and then in the afternoon, about 4 o'clock, we got We got another pint of cabbage soup stuff of some kind. That was my rations. The black coffee, the ration of bread, and the soup about 4 o'clock the afternoon. Winter was coming on, and it was a hard winter. There was an awful lot of frost. It was fairly dry, and we could do nothing but walk about, of course, for a week or two. Walk about into that. Near the tent, outside in the big open square, barbed wire and sentries round about you. I can mind it was so cold that some of the chaps thought that we're fine to get a drum up now to warm themselves up, and they got gathered on up all branches and set fire to them. I don't know where they got the matches. It was mixed matches on them when they come. I don't know. And they got hold of an empty beef can and got it full of water and put it on this fire. While that was boiling, they get a while back to their donkey's breakfast and tore off a lump of black bread and broke it up and shoved it by the fire. Of course, it took fire and burned and grew black. After it grew black, we pulled it out, and by the time the water was boiling, it was you could handle this bad bread. You got your basin half full out of this can of boiling water, and you crumpled the black bread amongst it. And it was just like the coffee we got in the morning. It tasted something the same. Anyway, that was the drum up, and the only drum up you could get. Well, time get on now, and they began to arrange working parties. Parties always would be sent out to the woods round about to cut timber and bring timber back to the German barracks. There's a German barracks quite near us for recruits. And at a sand pit, filling bogies of sand and transporting them in wagons and little iron bogies on rails till another place for some reason or other. Maybe another day we'd be doing it at the station, bringing coal up to the Jerry barracks in big wagons. And they horses, we was the horses, 25 men pulling this wagon up this brae to the German barracks and unloading it there. We didn't mind the trips down to the station because sometimes you could pick up those roots off sugar beet it fell off of wagons when they were getting through the station, and get them hidden in your boot somewhere. And when you come back at night, you could sit and chew those kind of things. I mean, one day I picked up a cabbage stalk, nothing but the bare stalk. I thought it was a great prize. I got it hidden and I kept it and took it back and broke it into 2 or 3 bits and gave it to some of them round about me. And we chewed it for, I suppose, for hours. Just glad to be chawing at something. Well, things get on, and that was our life now, as I've stated. But by and by, our boots began to feel the worst of the wear. We didn't get any clothing on again. We didn't even get a tool to dry our face. We just, if ever you washed your face, you washed it in the horse trough and just dried it with a navy silk at your head round your neck. And our boots began to get the worst of the wear. They wouldn't have had together by length of time, and the issue were those Dutch clogs, those things cut out of one piece of wood. Horrible, uncomfortable things to wear, but that was all we got to wear anyway, and we had to be satisfied with that. After wearing them for a while, they gradually wore thinner the soles and thinner the soles, and eventually one of them would break right up the middle and open up like a mussel shell. And if it not happened, you went out to the store where Jerry kept the boots, and he would you give him in the 2 halves club, and he would give you another club. So there you are, you're split now, and Aldi and New. It didn't matter this football war, of course we didn't talk nail with an Aldi and New. And that'd get on, the mist of the winter now. That put the mist of the winter through. But they began to make we heard they were making a barracks quite near a huts, army huts. And they were. And the latter end of the winter, we were shifted to the horse tents, and we opened this army huts. And the same place, Dobrich come still, but in the same, but army huts, which was much better. You had a wooden floor at least to lie on, and there was about 40 in a hut. And being that small amount, you come to kinder chops. It was not like being in a crowd of 150. We hadn't nothing to shift ourselves with, and we were getting filthy. Where bears were growing long. I'm sure that the German recruits looking in through the wires must have thought there was no man there under 50 years old. But was that all looking and decrepit with great long whiskers. And there was all kinds of shapes of bears. It was laughable to see them. But worse than that, we'd come in contact with a couple Russians that was put in the tent before we shifted. And we began to feel uncomfortable and scratchy. And you see a man scratching here and scratching there, and maybe 3 or 4 hours about something yarning about anything. And scratching would get so bad that he would just tuck off his jumper and tuck off his sock and begin delousing it, killing as much as he could after getting our eyes sock, and then he'd get a good shock and put it on again. Of course, we're all in a club now and again all the time that this was going on, but we didn't think nothing about it because everybody was in the same boat. And up in this new camp now, working on the very same, but it was more organised from the German side. We used to go out in parties every day, some on one job and some on another. They just sweeping up jobs round about the German barracks and cutting timber as usual and working on sewage places and all that. And it's very difficult to remember everything we did know, but I remember we used to get out in the morning with a guard on a working party to do a certain job, quite near the barracks. And at dinner time, of course, we'd come back to the barracks, not for our dinner, for the Jerry's dinner. We didn't get any dinner. We got our ration when we come on at night. But we get back to our huts, and well, the only thing one thing to do was to play care. Was I playing cares? One day I'd come back, we were working party, I'd come back to the hut and started to play cares. And must have been an interesting game of some kind. I didn't mind what it was. Whether it was gambling or no, I didn't care. But anyway, the whistle went for to reassemble again for after the afternoon's jobs. And we had to reassemble up at the guards, German guards places. And this game was just about finished, and I was awful keen to see it finished now. I was interested. Whether it was gambling for the only thing I know, I didn't care. But anyway, it was a minute or 2 after that whistle went afore I hobbled it. And when I got up, the working parties were all war, and our party was standing waiting. And the Jerry officer that was there come up to me and, I ken he was swearing in German, but the look of his face, and I ken he was calling me all thing under the sun. But he spoke to the sentry that was starting out, and we were marched to war to our job. Worked after then and come back at next again and fell on, and he was there, of course, to see the parties back went out, and he numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until he come to the end of the column. After he knew his numbers were all right there, he would tell us to dismiss. And a while they did, but I wasn't allowed to dismiss. He kept me standing. And he kept me standing there till every working party come on that day. And then he got away. He told me to stand and he got away. He wasn't very long away when I saw him coming back now. And he was carrying a rope with him, a rope like a clay's rope. I says, God help, I'm surely not getting hung. And anyway, he told me it was signs and to come with him. And a while we get over near the Germans' barracks to quarters, and they put me in a tent, an empty tent, with big poles in the centre of it. And he made me stand with my back to the thing of the big pole, and he tied my wrists, he tied in my body, and he tied my ankles. Then he gave me another discourse in German, of course, which was wasted on me. But there was 2 words that I understood. He said, 2 Stunden, and I kind of Stunden, 2 Stunden meant 2 hours, and that meant I was going to be there for 2 hours now. Well, I suppose I could have stuck it out right there. Anyway, he come back after 1 hour, and he untied me and let me go. But he let me understand that I would be for the same treatment the next night, to get the other hour. Well, I get now and I get back. And I begun to think now, there's a certain party that goes out here and nobody tries to avoid it, because it's so awful late to come on back at night. And if I could get into that party, I would clear that thing. I didn't care if I would manage that, but anyway, I thought I would have going. Next working day come now, away I goes and I mixes on with a crowd that was getting all the different, and I managed to get him with this crowd, this party that nobody wanted to be in them on. And away we did. And we got out and did our job, and it was awful late to coming back at night. Of course, the joker wasn't there was another in there. And he hadn't told them about me, so it was, I was all clear. And I was never bothered after that. I don't think I ever saw the joker again. Well, it was things like that. It passed away the time, you know, just, but after a while they began to mock up bigger parties, and they were sent out with other gear. For they get dull, nobody ever can for they get dull. And sometimes you saw them well after that, and they could tell you for they happened to go till that time. But just by chance. Because those Dobrich they come back there when there was only trouble on a kind. And our hut was no bother for a long, long time. But eventually our turn come. We were told that we were going next morning. So we got all our traps together. Our traps, I mean, we had pots and we had different kind of pots for boiling stuff and that. Got them all together and we fell in and what we get. And we had an awful lot of rumours getting about. Far away getting the day now. Oh, we're going to Berlin, we're going to the train. Well, that was right enough. And we're going to Berlin to work. And it's a baking job. Baking. Oh, well, no, that's a baking job. That That'll be a good job. There'll be something to eat there. Anyway, that's as near, I guess, as we could get till it. And we get away on the train, we reach Berlin. We come out the station in Berlin and go on the streetcars. And after a while on the streetcars, we come to a big wall, round about some buildings. And we come to a big gate. The streetcars were stopped and we walked in here. Had a peculiar smell. Didn't have the smell of a bakery. Had the smell of a gasworks, and it was a gasworks. So them had said we was going to a bacon job was quite right, but it was bacon coal, no more than rolls. Well, they put us in an army hut inside the gasworks. And it was a comfortable hut. There was gas stoves inside it. 2 or 3 gas stoves, and there was gas heaters round about the sides of it. We slept on up and down iron beds, and the bedding was clean. There was clean bedding, and they gave us 2 cotton shirts, 2 pairs of jean kind of trousers, and a pair of cotton or linen things for putting on our feet instead of socks, and a pair of clogs, wooden-soled clogs. Not the Dutchman kind, the flat clogs with a strap over them to keep them on your foot. Then they divided us into 3. They told us that we were stokers, and we were stokers of torch. We would work on 8-hour shifts, 8 hours on and 16 off. And that suited all right. And, well, we got to start doing that. We got to start doing that, working 8 hours on and 8 hours off, and 16 hours off at this stoking job. But we took all week to begin with, but after we were used to it, it wasn't bad at all. It was hard work, but hard work was good for us. We needed hard work. At that age, we'd had too much idleness. Well, there was plenty of freedom inside the gasworks. We weren't molested inside the gasworks because there was nobody allowed to go outside. We could look out through that gate and see the civvies passing in the streets, but that's as near as you was allowed. Certain places they told you weren't allowed to go. And, of course, that was the places that we wanted to see. But the first thing that we did on our way was to check on those guards. They had their barracks clear us, and they never bothered us. They just patrolled round about inside the walls of that gasworks. They never come near us when we was working. We were working on the retorts, 2 German civvies and 2 prisoners on a row of retorts. We drew 5 sets of retorts in the 8 hours, and when you finished the 5 hours, 5 retorts, then you took off your breeks and your shirt, which was soaking wet, and you give them a swill in a tank between the retorts and hung them up, and put on dry trousers and dry shirt. And that get on the 8 hours, and then when the final 5th time come, then we were clear. We got a shower. I don't mind much about the showers, but there was a shower. There was showers there. We got a shower and put on our own clothes. I then ken for the clothes comfort we were shifting but we were getting parcels for him for a year almost before that, and getting certain things in them. Some articles of food, mostly food. Sometimes we get a pair of socks, sometimes a tool, some things like that. But we never got any clothing for the Germans that I can, and there was no prisoner of war uniforms at that time. The clothes that we had, we got them with bartering, either with Jerry's or with other prisoners for articles of clothing, just same kind of clothes as the Jerry workman wore. Well, we began to weigh up those Germans now, and we found out exactly their routine. We found out their routine when they had their routine marches round inside their walls, how long they took, from one point till another, and we also managed to get to some of the places that we weren't allowed to go till. We got up on a big heap of coal, hundreds of tons of coal, and we could see out over the top of the wall to see if it was outside. And there was a canal right opposite that wall. A rough road between the canal and the gaswork wall. Not a proper road, just a road you could walk along, but a rough road. Well, that's all been weighed up now, but 12 fellas, one night, must have made it up on their own without telling anybody that they would, during their 16 hours off it, they would here go getting out over that wall. It was a wall about 10 feet high, but there was nothing on it, no wires or nothing of that kind. And it was possible to get down and get behind a row of coal wagons, which was there between the gaswork buildings and about 6 feet for the wall, and watch the Jerry walking past you. And through an angle of the wall, a bit further on, you kent that he wouldn't see what you was doing, and you kent it would be a certain time before the next team come along. And we had a wee bit of trouble, one helping another. It's possible to get up on that wall. Well, they did that. They got up on that wall, and they dropped on the other side, outside. They were on that rough road between the canal and the gasworks. Well, they carried on and they went up onto the streets. That part of Berlin wasn't very busy, but they got some civilization some way up there. They must have done, because it's hard to believe, but it's a fact. They come in the same way. They come along a rough road, and they listened carefully. They could hear the Jerry jog boots going past. After he was past a certain distance, climbed the wall again, and come back to their barracks. And one of them had a monkey. A monkey? Well, and the Jerry's come to ken, I think, and how they never said anything about that monkey being there, but they must have hindered doubts. They might have thought that it booked it for some of the civilians that were working in the gasworks. There was quite a lot of civilians in there. It was a tremendous size of a place. And we got a box made for this thing now, and it had a chain in its middle, and it was fastened to this box up above the door we went out to our work. And alongside that door, the brushes stood for sweeping up the place. And when they were getting out, some of them would pick up a brush and give the bottom of the box a knock with a brush, and this monkey come loping out, cursing and swearing and carrying on something off it, squealing and ahing, because that was just a laugh you can. I can mind the night we were all sitting playing at cards at a table, and through some, I think how that brute got awa, but it got awa, and it jumped down on the table off that box it was in, and come walking along the table, and it was looking right and left. It appeared to me, I could see the thing coming. It appeared to me to be looking at everybody's face and trying to recognize somebody. And I tell you, I was very glad for that thing past me without recognizing me, and carried on along the table. They copied it again. I don't mind how it was somebody got ahead of it again and put it back in the box anyway. But the Jerry's come and took it away after that. Well, that get on now, and this twa getting out over that wall, of course, spoke about it, and they spoke about things outside, and that was, I set up a challenge now. And some others tried it. 5 or 6, about 6, I would say, tried it, maybe 6 or maybe 8. Me and Jody Wilson had a go at one night. But they were trying it and getting away with it. Well, we would have a go at it and see if we could get away with it. And we tried it, and we got away with it now. And, but it wasn't worthwhile. The risk for you getting out there and getting up there and getting a coffee and getting some lager or something, and then the risk of coming back and getting on site again, it wasn't worth trying again, and we never tried it again anyway. I don't ken if the Jerry's kent what was going on or not, but I've an idea they did ken. Because one day we were told that we were leaving the Gospels next day. We were told to pack up one forenoon, following outside, went on a streetcar again, and away to the station, and got on a train. Didn't ken far was going. Well, there were several hours on this train, but we eventually landed. We landed in the coal fields away in eastern Germany, not far from the Czechoslovakian border. And that was to be our job now, coal miners. And a horrible job it proved to be. There were no coal mines, as we know coal mines. There were open cast pits, great big holes in the ground, where they dug open cast coal. They removed all the sand and clay and everything for the top, and cleared a big seam of brownish coal, and then this coal was mined with machines and taken up to the factory and converted into briquettes. Well, that we'd lost a good job now. The job in the Maryland Gospels was a good job as far as prisoners of war job was concerned. We'd lost that. We used to get 11.5 marks a week there. We could buy margarine or cigars or cigarettes or the canteen maybe something else would bring on fish. We were put in a prisoner of war camp up near the coal mines, of course, and put on next shift, a half hours on next shift and a half hours on day shift, working all night or working all day. Well, that get on now for a long, long time. We were there for a couple of years. It was a horrible place to be in. We very seldom come in contact with anybody that could tell us anything. Or we didn't get the rumours that we got when we was at the Dobrich camp or in Berlin. But we just had to make the best of it. But it come to be so boring that you couldn't help thinking about getting away with it, or when would we get away with it. We wouldn't never get away with it. Well, Jody Wilson and me, we managed to pick up a page or an exercise, a school exercise book. It was about that size anyway, and it had the map of Germany on it. Well, we got ahead of this now, and we had to look at it. We had to examine it to see how far we was, and we found out where we was. And we looked to see far away the nearest place to try and mark for. If ever we got away from there. And we found out that the nearest place was the Baltic coast, and it was 250 mile away. So we began to dream then, to make dreams, daydreams of course. We had dreams getting out and getting to the Baltic coast and either getting aboard a new little ship and sailing across to Sweden, or coming on a small kind of a fishing village and getting ahead of a boat, taking a boat and sailing across to Sweden. Dreams, I say, just dreams. Anyway, there were dreams that wouldn't depart. And we began to save up the dry stuff. We got to get parcels like Horlick's tablets or Oxo cubes and cocoa and bags of little biscuits that we used to get, just as much as we could carry in our pockets. And we were determined now we were going to have a go at getting out of this place. It had never been done before, but somebody had to try the first time anyway. So there's quite a lot of preparations to make, and that was one of them, getting in the stores to carry in our pockets. They wouldn't last us very long anyway. But we were going to live on the land as we went, just eat what we could find in the fields. Another thing now, we had to wait until it was fairly late on in the summer, so we got a longer night for walking, because it had to be done in the dark. And we decided on November, with the second half of November, or it was October, I don't know, thereabout anyway, October or November. And we decided how we was going to try and get out now. We was going to try and climb those wires. First of all, we had to time those sentries again. We would be outside and we're in patrol ground, walking about back and forth. The sentry would be only a sentry go. He wouldn't have known what we was doing, but we were timing them. I had a watch and we were timing them, seeing how long it took to go from one point to another. And when they shifted their beats, I mean, when another man come on, because when another man come on, it was there was a bigger delay than ever between the time he come along. And we got him time now. We can't exactly how much time we had to do that job, and with no compass. We knew that the Baltic lay due north, and we couldn't have very well missed the Baltic, but we had to get some idea of walking. And well, why about the North Star? That's the very thing. So we went to 2 or 3 nights after that, and when it was dark and starry, and we could watch the North Star, and we'd look at it, a lot of stars round about it, in case the North Star would be hidden with temporary with clouds, so as we could ken it the position of the North Star from the other stars. But it had to be clear on the wire. We couldn't walk, because we were walking through woods and we would have walked in circles. Well, that was all arranged now. And another thing, it had to be done on a Saturday night, because there was no work on the Sunday. And if we disappeared on the Saturday night, we wouldn't have been missed until Monday morning. So that was another thing arranged now. And after we got everything arranged, we didn't tell anybody anything, because she wasn't safe to tell anybody anything. And just before that, I wrote a script, a small auditory, and I gave it to a child belonging to Murray Firth. And I told them, have you never heard word us again? Even when he got him, have you never heard word us again? Would he tuck this him and let them ken how it all finished? We could easily come across, or we could easily been shot at any point. So he did that. Well, the night come now, for the great escape. And the Jerry used to turn out the lights at, was it 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock for their barracks. And everything was dark, and everybody just turned on at that time and just slept or tried to sleep. We just turned on with the rest of them. We didn't take off no clothes, just kept our clothes on. But took our boots off and put them down at the side of our beds. And heard every Jerry person, that 12 hours, watching the watch. And so we could see the time on the watch through the lights outside. A certain amount of light come on, and you could manage to see the time on the watch. We lay until we heard the Jerry going past a certain point, just at midnight. Now we counted when he got back to the guardhouse. He wouldn't have passed the guardhouse that time. He'd go on, and his relief would come on then, and there'd be a certain delay. After he was well past, we got quiet out of our beds, took our boots in our hand, and our coat rolled up in a bundle. Slipped out of the windows. The windows were those things that opened up like doors. Slipped out of the windows, shut the windows. There was with 6 feet between the window and the wire. Went out the wire and threw over our boots, threw over our coats, and up ourselves. How we got over that wire, God above kens, I dinna ken. It was diamond netting. It was about 10, 12 feet high, with 3 strands of barbed wire inside, on spokes sticking up inside. Well, I dinna ken how we got over, but we got over anyway. We a puddle tears and a puddle scratches. We got over, picked up our boots and our coats in our hands, and ran for a belt of trees that was maybe 50, 60 years away, and got in among the trees. There we stopped after we was well among the trees, put on our boots, put on our coats, away the road. We walked all that night without opposition, no trouble in any kind, through fields, near railways or roads. We avoided that. And when grey daylight began to seek in the morning, we began to look for a shelter for the day now. And we come on a copse of trees, and we got on them with them and lay down. But we were soaking us sweat. We've been going at that hard annex. We were soaking us sweat, and we just couldn't sleep. Although we had no sleep the night before. After a while, we could hear small branches cracking them on somebody's feet. And they were coming nearer and nearer. At last, a Jerry come in sight, a middle-aged civilian. And he walked past us about 6 or 7 feet from us, and he looked as he was passing, but he never stopped. He just kept going. Of course, we knew that fella would report us to somebody sometime or other, and whenever we heard his feet disappearing, we got up and away. And we got in the thicker woods, and we were looking for shelter now, and by luck we come on a big copse on what we would call Christmas trees here, half-grown trees. To get in below them, you had to crawl. So we got down on our hands and knees, and we crawled well back in the middle of this thick copse of trees. And there we stopped and lay down. Well, we heard shouting, and we heard dogs, we heard bairns during that forenoon. But they never come near us. When it come down dark at night, right dark again, we come crawling out and away the road again. That was our second night now. And we were Well, let's see what happened on this second night now. Oh, aye. We were walking and walking and walking, as I say, through agricultural land and all, just on our way. And we were walking through agricultural land this night. It must have been about midnight, pitch dark, but a clear night. And we heard a dog barking. And, I says, I didn't like to hear that. I didn't like to hear dogs. So we got right down and was silent, quiet. And that dog kept barking now and again, but it never appeared to shift its position. It was in the same position. It was never coming on any nearer. So we got up and got away again. And we were coming up on the face of this field. And as we were coming towards the top, we could see a heat coming from the opposite side, over the rays against the sky. And we gave another nudge to look at it, and got well done, but kept going very, very canny, kneeling down, bowing down, and watching this thing all the time. After a while, it began to be clearer, and we began to see two arms. And we thought, no, he's seen us now. We were wrong, this fella's seen us. And we stopped. After we'd been stopped for a while, this fella never moved. And we couldn't understand it. We looked at it, and we chanced away again. We discovered that it was before we got past it. It was a scarecrow. I don't know how many crows that thing scares, but I could tell you it scared us all right on the way that day. And that went on, we went the road again, and just the usual, and through the thickest woods you could see the North Star, and we were confident we were going in the right direction, until we come to another thick wood. We tried to stop in a thick wood for shelter all day and lay down. One of these woods we slept in. I don't reckon it was the second or the third night. We were so fatigued that we were down long before daylight began to come. And it was dark at night when we woke up again. We slept the whole day through. And, got up and away again. And that next now, we were walking through a thick wood, and we come to the end of this wood at once. And bordering at the end, right across the end of this wood, was a road. Not a proper motor road, just a rough road, a wagon road. And between that wood and a canal, there was a strip of grass. There was that road, a strip of grass and a canal, barring our way. We couldn't go no longer. So we come out of the wood and turned left along the wood, quite close to the trees. And we're coming along this road now, and in the darkness, it must have been the late evening, 10 or 11 o'clock at night. We sees a German, two Germans sitting on a seat, and on a seat on this grassy patch in front of the canal. A German soldier and a woman. And we kept our eyes, and they looked, and they kept following with their eyes too, but they never rose up, and we never stopped. We just kept our eyes on them without turning our head as long as we could, and kept going. After going for a while, we come to a briggy, a foot brig, over this canal, a wooden thing. You had to get up 5 or 6 steps and then get over this brig and doing the same way to the other side. We went up the steps, after listening, of course, and just as we were reaching the last step, we could hear a footstep on the other side. So we silently slipped back again and got down over the grass at the canal side, half in the water and half out. until this person passed. After waiting a while, we tried it again and we got across. And after we got across, we could get on our course again. We could get north again now. We was over this canal thing. But after a while, we come to a marshy place. We begun to go walking through pools of water, splashing through them. And of course, we could expect anything because we didn't get far away. And we kept going and kept going. It was north we had to go anyway, and we had far over the water or no, we had to keep going. And the further we went, the worse that water was getting. It was getting deeper. The lochs were getting bigger. And there's patches of dry between them as well, of course. And we're thinking, well, this is bound to end sometime. We're bound to come to the other side of this sometime. And we kept going and kept going, sometimes up to the knees, getting across from one part to another, until daylight began to come on in the morning. Now, looking round this, not a tree. Was come a fairly good bit that neck, was a good bit of walk, the only trees at the back was, and we could see no trees in front. So, we're looking round, and we saw what looked like a railway embankment away on the left. And we made for this railway embankment. When we come to this railway embankment, we climbed up on it. We found it was a road. It wasn't an embankment at all. It was a road. Must have been a road across those marshes. But it was beginning to be daylight at that time now, you see, and we were still nae heading for the day. So, but there was 7 or 8 big stalks of grass, dried grass, on that road, at the side of the road. And, well, we decided the best thing be to go and blow one of those stalks of grass and lie there for the day now until night. And then when darkness comes down to get away on that road back north again. We did that. We got in below, we looked for the biggest scene, and we got in below, hauled the grass out and crept in and hauled the grass back as much as we could to hide us. But we were soaking wet, as we were soaking wet, and we were cold. It was the winter time in this time. And sleep was out of the question. After a while, we could hear a wagon. We had a toot hiding our face with the grass, and we could see a wagon coming along, an open wagon, those partake in the wagons, twa oxen thinking the things hauling, and twa Jerry's walking alongside with pitchforks. So we crept back again now, till they get past. And we're waiting now, and the things come on nearer and nearer and nearer, until it eventually come right to far we was. But for there it didn't appear to get any less. There was a difference in the tempo of the horse's feet, and they appeared to have stopped. In fact, they were stopped. They were turning this thing round about, and to unload this coal of hay on this wagon. I say there was 7 or 8 of the coals of hay on that road. They could have taken only in, but they come to this end. Well, we was thinking, well, that's a lot of hay here. So maybe the thing will be loaded and they'll go off, and we'll get a shift in another place before they come back again. But we lay until the pitchforks began to come dangerously near. They were just as bad as bayonets. 12 great long-teethed pitchforks coming through, and we come crawling out. 'Twas sorry-looking affairs, soaking wet and dead tired and hungry, and I can remember for the look at us, and they said Englanders, they can't exactly what we were. I have an idea that the road that we were talking, but with that first civilian had seen us, and reported us. And the track that we were talking, the kent we were going north, and the kent that we were probably held up with their marshes, and they'd be keeping looking for something just like that. At least that's what happened anyway. They must have seen us, and before we got, they must have seen us on the skyline before we got hidden that morning. They took a whistle with their pocket and they blew a whistle, and within minutes up comes a German bobby on a bike, helmet and revolvers and sword. I don't know if he had a sword or not, but he had nothing else about him anyway. And showed us his revolver and told us to come along with him. So while we did, and he took still a ferry place that wasn't far away and puts in a hut and gave a German youth his revolver and told him to stand at the open door until he come back. He did that. He come back a while after that, and he took us away again. And we marched on a mile or two till a prisoner came, and he handed us over to the guards there. And we didn't get far away at this time, but we found it eventually. We were at Codbus prison camp, but we didn't get far. Codbus was, of course, but we still had this map thing and were stuck in. So we took the map thing out and had a look. We found it, but walked for about 60 miles, near enough due north, during that fortnight's war route. So they put us in a prison within a prison, and kept us there. A couple of days after that, this sergeant in charge of the coal mine come for us, took us a walk back and the train again, back to the prison camp at the coal mine. It was a Saturday night when we got there, so I take it that was about a week we was out. It was that Saturday night that we left a week before. And instead of letting us go on the chops, they kept us standing outside for hours. And then they let us go on to our beds. Sunday was a working day in the mines, so there was nobody aroused out next morning but us two. I was aroused out and was put on jobs cleaning up dirty latrines and all kind of filthy places that had never been cleaned before. I was telling some of the chops after we had time to have yarn, if they hadn't let us out of that, let's see now. Oh, I don't know, I'm about here to myself. Well, next working week come now. We were both on the same shift before, but now we would put one on day shift and one on night shift. That'd get on for about a fortnight. One day, then it was on day shift. The guard come down for him, brought him up to the barracks, and then it was on next shift. The two of them get a war sign. We taken a war till a place of some kind, and we was questioned. There was about six or eight big jerrys behind the table, and we were sitting on a chair, singly, one at a time, sitting on a chair in front of them. They were asking questions. I think they were trying to merely find out if there was any civvies, gains any help on any kind. Because we never told them, but how we actually got it, we never told them. We had a story made up already that they would never ken how we got it, and they didn't ken. Anyway, after that, we turned back to the coal mine again, started on our jobs, one on day shift and one on night shift. The sentry that never used to come in near the hut at next to 4, come in then, and you could hear the door open in the middle of the night, and his feet coming in, and he'd come and show his torch on the bed to see if you're still there. Well, after about a week, after we seen the question with those fellas, the same procedure happened again. Then it was on day shift, was broke up for his work. Then it was supposed to be sleeping, was got out of his bed, and we were taken away, just that way, taken right away, and we were taken away on the train till a little town called Welzo, and there we were put in a jail. I told us when we were going there, we got 10 days solitary confinement on bread and water. So that was that. We were put in jail, and the jail in charge of the bobby. It was not a big place, it was quite a small jail, it was a stone jail. There was a row of 6 or 8 cells, and one was put on a cell at one end, and the other was put on a cell at the other end. And we never saw each other all the time we were in that cells, because we never got out, except get out with a bucket in the morning and get a drink of water and bring a basin of water and waste. And that was done singly, one at a time. Like in my mind, I was nearest to the door for the bobby's house was, and I mean the bobby's wife used to come out and chop it, nips, chop something in a bucket. I wouldn't have known what it was, but the smell told me it was turnips. She must have had a pig, and she used to mash those nips up in this bucket after they were boiled, and they had a lovely smell. Oh, how I wished I could be dining with a pig when I felt that smell, because we got nothing but a ration of bread and we're drinking water every day. Up to this day, if I smell turnips, my mind goes right back to that little jail. I just couldn't help it. Anyway, I scratched 1 to 10 on the side of the place, so as I could scratch one out every day as every day went by to make sure it would count when the 10 days were finished. The ration of bread had to come for the coal mines, and sometimes the fellow brought it in the forenoon, and sometimes it would be the next afternoon before that. You got it every day, but at different times. And when it come, it was just a case of sitting down and making sure you eat every crumb out, and not lost one crumb out. The main trouble with me on a way was when nights come down. It was so cold in that stone cells. The first night I could not sleep at all. My feet were like lumps of ice. I used to slide off this, was lying on bare boards about a brick high off the ground with horse blankets round us. I used to slide off the boards, feel for the wall, put my hands up against the wall so as I would keep my position, and do the double without moving until I felt a sweat coming over me. And then I would lie down again and fall asleep maybe with fatigue until the cold walking's up again. That'd get on all that night. And next day I thought about that, and I dreaded the night coming again, with the same experience again. But I had a pair of long home-woven pants on, and the next night before I turned in, I hauled them right down over my toes, doubled my socks, and hauled my socks over the top of them, and lay down. And in that way, with my feet being warm, I could sleep. So that's how the 10 days went. And how did it go? I don't know. I used to sing quite a lot to myself. I wasn't sorry for myself in any way. I was cocky. I would be punished for it, and the punishment I knew could have been much worse. So I just made up my mind I would just stick it and nae more about it. And that's just what happened. After After what 10 days was up, we were taken back to the coal mine again and put on the job again. And we could see by their actions that their eyes were on us, and they would get their own back in their own way if they could. We could see that, and it was. I just began to wonder how I could get out of that place. I thought only that kind did happen. I had dangers before I went to Germany, and before I ever left the main camp at Dobbers, they broke. Right down the middle. I got a Russian the men put the two of them together, and they did all right. They moved the two separate halves. Were on hinges like they moved, but they suited me all right. I think now if I could make a right job with that teeth now when I'm here, that might get me away from here. So I broke them in two again. And I reported sick side. I wanted to see the doctor. They wanted to know what was wrong. I wanted to see the doctor. Told them my stomach was all wrong, I couldn't eat my food, no teeth. So I was, after a couple of days that I'd been writing and consulting about, I was sent back to Dobbers camp again. On the road back, we got as far as Berlin, and the guard found out that he couldn't get to Dobbers that night on the train, and he took us and he put us into one of the biggest jails in Berlin. I don't know the name of it, but you get into 12 great big gate, and inside was a circular place with galleries round and round. It's 7 or 8 galleries from the bottom to the top, all white painted or whitewashed or something. So there we passed the night, and we carried on next day to Dobrich. Now, I'm back in Dobrich again after 2 years. 2 years and 2 months. And I can some of the chaps when I get back. And there was one of them there. I couldn't tell you now how he got there, but he was with us in the Gospels, and he was in Dobrich when I went back the second time. One day we were walking about idly. There was hundreds of prisoners in that camp, and we was walking about idly, and we sees a closed wagon coming up and stopping outside the guardhouse. We knew what it was. We knew it was a parcels wagon. Red Cross parcels come every periodically for the prisoners. Break come from Switzerland, and there's other parcels come from other places. And we can't when they come. And when it stopped, the guard come out of the guardhouse and just grabbed 8 or 10 of the nearest prisoners to the guardhouse and told them to come with him. And he went and opened the gate, and this was to carry the parcels into the guardhouse. So, the gate was opened, and they went up with the guard to the parcel wagon, into those box wagons, and they began took two parcels each and walked back into the guard's place and put them in the guard's hut, and out for another 12, just back and forth. And after some time, when the guard saw that the guard was standing outside watching, after he saw the thing and right on operation, he decided he would have a look back in the guardhouse. I suppose in case there was anybody doing any pilfering in there. And the chaps carried on, going out and coming on, and nobody watching them at all. We took notice of that. We thought it would be possible to get behind that wagon so you couldn't be seen for the guardhouse. and walk across to that belt of trees and just disappear. And if anybody did see, you could say you just were wanting to relieve yourself or something of that kind. Well, that was made up then. We made up our mind that we would be in the next, we made up our mind would be on the next parcel carrying party. And we knew when the wagons would come. So the day the wagons was due, we went out, had our money on us and everything, and we didn't stand, we kept handy walking about near the parcel, the gate. Parcel wagon come up as usual, the Jerry come out, grabbed the lot of us, and we was a man, us two, Jock, Herbert and me, a soldier chappie, blowing hike. And we got him at the party. So we joined the party, went out and took 12 parcels, brought them in, keeping our eyes on the guard all the time and keeping both together, too. He did the very same again. You could wait the Jerry, so they did the same thing over and over again. He went into the guardhouse again. We went out and got in behind that wagon and kept the wagon between us and the guardhouse in case he was come to the door. Got over to that belt of trees unseen. And there we are now. We're away now. We're out now. But what next? With no plans after that. But we knew where the railway line was that went to Berlin, and we kept amongst the trees as much as possible until we got down near the railway. And we followed the railway line for about 6 miles, I would say, bypassing 1 or 2 small stations on the way. After we got 6 or 8 miles fed, we thought we would safe enough now to try for a ticket, and we went to the station, a little station on the country, and we asked for tickets for Berlin, and we got them, got on the train, and got into Berlin. Got into the unhalted Bahnhof, a great big terminus station, just like King's Cross. And there we was now, we wanted to get as far away from that camp as possible before maybe somebody missed us. But how was we going to get any further than far we was now? That's what we didn't ken, of course. Well, we hung about that station for afternoon, but towards evening, and we wasn't frightened at the station because there was so much folk there that it was easy hiding yourself. There's all kind of folk there, soldiers, sailors, Jerry soldiers, all kind of. And we hung about there, but towards evening now, the station began to get empty, and we can't, at through time, if we didn't get out of that we would be spotted by some of the guards that was knocking about the station. I mean military guards, not railway guards. So we didn't get about the day. We just had to make up our mind on whatever circumstances cropped up. We had to make up our mind at once. We saw a crowd lining up at the ticket box, a queuing up, and as they got their tickets, they walked away down a platform a bit till a train, and got on the train. So we done that I was doing, and had a look at this train, and saw a list of names on the side of the train. Oh, names that we'd never heard tell of. But there was one name on it that we did ken. Hamburg was marked there. So, get back now. And the next thing was to get a ticket to get on this train now, if it was going to Hamburg. That's where we wanted to get, as far away from that camp as possible. And we had a bit of a puzzle to ken how we was going to carry on next. It took some time, but the only thing that could be done was to get a ticket. And the only way to get a ticket was to go and buy it. Well, I think I kent a little more German than Job did, and I volunteered to get the tickets. And I got his money and my money, because we had no idea what they would cost. And I got over and I joined the queue. And when my turn come, I asked the fella for 2 singles for Hamburg. And he looked at me and he said something. And I didn't know what he said. He was speaking in German. I didn't know what it was. But I just said, yeah. That was yes. And he turned around and got the tickets and handed them to me. And I paid him the price, 12 marks 80 each. And that was all right now. I thought I'd gotten 2 tickets for Hamburg. But I hadn't. I didn't care. I come a walk across the job. I get him this ticket. It was like getting him £1,000. Well, we get down the train now, and we got in. A 4th-class compartment, just seats down on each side. And we were in that train all night. There were tickets for checked with the ticket collector. In fact, I've got that ticket yet. And daylight come on the late morning. At the late morning, we arrived at our destination. Everybody got up and went out, and of course we did the same, thinking we were in Hamburg. And put on the platform, they were slow at getting out because they were examining something at an exit place yonder. They were letting them out one by one, and we were sure that they were asking for identification papers or something like that. So we made for we went away looking for a wash and a brush up place. And we found one, an underground one at the station. And we went down there and spent about half an hour washing our face and that. And come up. And when we come up, the station was empty and the wicket was open. And we just walked right out. We were tickets. And there was another puzzle now. Turn right or left. Well, we turned right and left because it was going downhill. That must be towards the water. So we turned it left. Walked down the hill. After walking for about, maybe half an hour. Difficult to mind about the time it took. But about half an hour. We sees men going on la place of some kind. And it had a big glass window that you could see through, and it was half full of men, working men, all drinking coffee. And we get in and all. We were civilians, we were supposed to be civilians. We get in and all, and we sitting clear of them, got 12 coffees and all, and after a while, those men, they were talking about something, and they were excited, they appeared to be excited, and they were arguing about something. But we could only get a word here and there, but they were speaking about a ship of some kind. And after a while, there must have been dock workers, because they went out after a while. But there was one man left sitting. And we got in touch with this man that was left sitting. And with the words that we heard, the English words that they were using and the German was a weekend, they were discussing something about a ship leaving that day. So we queried as Jerry about it. What was the argument about it? What was the excitement about it? Something about a ship leaving that day. All he says that is the rumour. There's a ship leaving England the day. No, the thing we couldn't understand that. But we didn't get how the war was going at all. There was some trouble with the German Navy, but how much trouble, of course, we didn't get. But he said at that ship then was leaving, would be leaving around about 1 o'clock of that time then. And it was about 11 or 12 o'clock at this time. So Jock and me spoke together, and then we decided on a plan. That was the thing, you had to decide on a plan right away. We thought that now we should take the bourgeois fellow and she will help us. We told this fellow we were prisoners of war. We'd been up on a farm away outside of Berlin. An order had come that we had to return back to the main camp. But we were just trying to make friend by him ourselves. And we showed him the money we had with a considerable with a good German money. Not a lot, but with a fair amount. We showed him the money we had, and we asked him if he could show us where that ship was. He said he could. Well, he said, if you would, you'll get this money that we have. And he said he. So after that, we made up a plan. We weren't long about it. We told him to go out, and we would follow him at a certain distance. And when he come to where the ship was, where we would find the ship, to make a sign, and we would understand it. And a sign that everybody would understand. We just arranged it. He would just simply leave the pavement and cross the road. And that was the place where the nearest place where we would find the ship. So we left the coffee. We followed them at about a dozen years behind them, walked along the road, turned down the street, and we come to the dockyard wall. We turned left along this dockyard wall, and we passed a gate into the dockyard. And I believe we passed another gate while we were walking along that pavement. But just after that, he stepped off the pavement and crossed the road. And we come to the gate, just where he did that, and we turned into that gate. There was nobody at the gate, so we just walked down into the dockyard. And walking down the road now, we could see a big ship at the quayside. We have a broad gangway to the land per deck, and a lot of men walking up and walking down. They appeared to be in another road. They were on such a hurry. So we just kept walking, and when we come to this gangway, just stepped on the gangway and walked up. There was several going up and several coming down when we was doing that, but just walked up with the rest. Stepped up the gangway on the ship's deck. Now, to be very careful now, Jock, I don't suppose, had been in the sea all his days until he was going over to France. But I can't for today, and I just led him away to the bow of the ship. And I can't, it would probably come to the hatch there, so we could get down and go to the sixth. So we did come to the hatch, walk for it on the ship, and we walked down, and we found a dark kind of corner, but it was no place to hide. We couldn't very well hide there. So I says, we'll look for another hatch. And we get a one, and we got another hatch. And we went down, and we found a darker corner there. We weren't completely hidden, but somebody had to walk close by us before they could see us. Now we got into this corner, we're standing now, wondering what's going to happen next now. Only thing could have happened. But nothing happened for a while. but I begun to feel a trembling in the ship, and I came to thought it was the machinery and motion of the ship. And we listened carefully, and this machinery got louder and louder, and I came by certain movements that this ship was getting underway. And we hadn't been aboard no longer than a half an hour, and right enough the ship was getting underway, and I kent by the beat of the machinery that she was on her road. And we're still standing there. There was a fella come along with a white coat on along that alleyway, and he glanced at us, but he didn't stop. He just carried on. And, well, we didn't get what to think about that, of course. We just couldn't do nothing else anyway but stand. He got away. A few minutes after that, he came back again, and he stopped, and he spoke to us. He asked us what we were, and why we were standing there. We told him the same story as we told the fella in the coffee. And he says, your captain wants to see you. So we went along with him to the captain's quarters, and he interviewed us then and asked us what we were and why we were on board his ship. We told him what we were and why we were there. The same stories we told the fella in the coffee again. Him and the mate I took it to be the mate, had a confab together, and then the steward's fella was told to take us away. He took us away and took us down below and to a cabin and put us in that cabin, but he told us we were not to leave that cabin without permission. So we get into the cabin now, and we got meals for them at mealtime, the same as they were getting, I suppose. What we got, I don't mind, but we got meals for them. And that day passed now, and there was bunks in the cabin, so when come to a bedtime, we just slept into a bunk and lay down and lay. Next morning, daylight come in, this fella come back to the cabin, and he asked us, he says, you're wanted. And we had to follow him up on deck. And when we got up on deck, the whole crew was fell on deck, on the boat deck. And we fell in with him. And we were told where to assemble, alongside of which lifeboat to assemble in case of an accident, like stricken mines or something of that kind. And we went down to the cabin again. I mind a Jerry turning to me, a Jerry Seaman turning to me and pointing, and he says, you know that place? I said, no, nine. I said, I'd never seen that place. He said, that'd be Helgoland. Oh, well, Kent was fairly well out and about now anyway, bound for some way. So, after that, we got leave to leave our cabin and come on deck and meet some of the men that were working about. We never get aft on the ship, we paid for it, of course. And we met some of the men. We met the carpenter and the boatswain, and they appeared to be very nice fellows, and they were. They used to ask us to come to their cabins at night, and they would hear a sing-song, and they would be playing a melodeon, and they'd be yarning about different things. They're merchant seamen, and they'd sailed in British ships, and quite a lot, and they spoke just as good English as we spoke, and they were very fine fellows. So the time went on now, and on deck I tried to find out by the sun which course the ship was stuck in. But I found it was impossible, because there was an awful lot of alteration of courses, and it was impossible to ken how the ship was going and where she was going. And they didn't ken. They didn't ken nothing about it. They couldn't tell us anything about it. And only why that get on for, maybe 3 or 4 days now. And one morning we come on deck, and we could see high hills right ahead of us. And Jock says, asked me now, Jock says, you told me you would ken far was coming till because you ken all the land for the Pentland Firth down to the Ulster. Well, I says, Jock, I do, but I've never seen that land before. I didn't ken far it is. Only why, after a while, we saw 2 destroyers coming out, and they turned about at some distance for us, one on either side, and steamed in along with us towards this land. And coming on, we could see a little lighthouse on the starboard hand of a passage, a narrow passage. We steamed in through this passage, and yet I didn't ken far away. But after we was in through the passage a bit, and the place began to open out like a big lock, then I realized far away it was a scup of flow. And we could see a big fleet of ships, one on the starboard side, all lying in rows, lying in anchor. And I kent that was the German ships. They were all German ships. We steamed in, trying to attract attention to the drifters and the trawlers that were going past us. But of course they took no notice of us. We was a German ship full of Germans. And at length we got up to far the German ships was, and she let go her anchor. An examination officer come aboard for a picket board for some of the Navy ships. And we got as near to the top of the accommodation ladder as we could. But when he come aboard, he never took the least notice of us again. Never took the least notice of us. But we made sure he wouldn't go back without kenning something far we was, far we'd come for. So we just stood there on a while. He was on the bridge getting all the particulars for the Jerry skipper. And a fella come down off the bridge and told us to come with him up on the bridge, and we went away. And this examination officer asked us who we were, what we were, and why we were there. And we told him the proper story. We said we were British prisoners of war. We'd been 4 years in Germany, and we'd stowed away on board this ship in the River El. But Hamburg, we said, because that's far we thought we left there. And that's how we were in Scapa Flow. We were stowaways. So he told this fella to take us down to the picket board. He took us down to the picket board, and we went across to one of the battleships that was on the other side of the floe, and went aboard her. We got a meal on her, and they brought a couple of forms for us to send word home where we were, a telegram kind of a thing, I suppose. And after an hour or so, we were sent away aboard a depot ship called the Emperor's. And we were in her all that day, slept aboard her at night. Next morning, we left in the ferry for Scrabster Pier. And we arrived at Scrabster. And looking back on the Jerry ships, and with no regrets. And I just thought at that time, well, I've no time for the military fellows in the prison camps. They were a washout. But the German sailors were real friendly men. And that squared me up with the Germans, saying idle. And so that was it. And we left in buses for Thurso, where we took a train for, we got on a train for Ripon, I think it was, in England. That was a dispersal centre. And after we declared ourselves there and got re-kitted, well, got decent clothes to put on, we were sent home, saying, for a week or two's leave, And that was how it all finished up. Well, that was the war experience is over now, and the next thing that we had to get was back to our jobs. I was a fisherman from a getaway, and of course I didn't kind of do anything else, but and I went back to Fraserburgh and went to the fishing again. We got married in 1920. And we found out that the fishing wasn't like the fishing was before the war. The markets were lost, fish were scarcer, prices were less, and it was very, very seldom you got ends to meet. Sometimes you would go on a whole 7 or 8 weeks, and then when it come to clear up, you got as little as £1. And of course, the gear had to be kept up to a certain standard, and ship chandler supplied that, expecting, of course, to be paid off your next fishing, but time and again, the next fishing was just nothing coming. There was, some of them come up all right, but most of them was on the wrong side. And it was a poor time. That was what's kind of the hungry 20s. You'll maybe hear some folks speaking about them yet, the hungry 20s. Between 20 and 30, 1920, 1930 was a very hungry time. Anyway, we're married up in Fraserburgh now and had a very hard time of it. And things, instead of getting better, were getting worse. And we were beginning to go astern because the gear was expensive, and if you couldn't clear it 1 year, then you had another year's expenses on the top of that again. So we decided we would pack up and leave it. We did that. We packed up and left it and come back to Montrose, Ferry Den, and went to the fishing there. Well, things were better. I was going to haddock lines there, and things were better. You got by week by week, but that's about all. Then one day, the lifeboat coxswain saw me and he cried to me. I was bombing on the lifeboat at Montrose at that time. He says, I see a notice in the custom house. They're wanting a full-time coxswain for Broughty Ferry lifeboat. He says, you should go and see about that. Well, I thought about that now. That meant another shift, of course, but it also meant a weekly wage coming on every week that would keep us going. I went over about it and I applied for it, and I was sent for to come for an interview. Went up for an interview in Dundee and went home again. Some days after that, another reply came. Had it been put on a shortly at 3, and it would come up for a final interview. I went up again for a final interview, and come home again, of course. And the next day I got word that I'd got the job. So there you are now. That was more adventure. I wasn't seeking adventure, of course. I was seeking a weekly wage so as we could live comfortably. Anyway, that was it. Wages weren't that big at that time. I come to the job at £3 a week. That was tradesmen's wages at that time, of course. But I couldn't get a house. I had to shift my family from Ferry down to Broughty Ferry, and I had to pay lodgings, furnished lodgings, and that continued for about 6 years until I got a house. Well, with that £3, we were living very, very, very carefully. With that £3, we sent something back to Fraserburgh every fortnight, a few shillings every fortnight regularly, and eventually the whole debt was cleared. We cleared the whole debt. Now we could go back to Fraserburgh now and had our heads up because we were due nobody anything. No, we're established in the lifeboat station here now, and I was quite happy. It was a risky thing to do, to take a full-time job in a lifeboat at a strange sport, for you was not quant, and you was not quant with the folk nor the place, but I can give me some time, I would soon mark that out. So we did that. But of course, 1939 now, the war come on now. That was another hazard. The lights were put out. With the navigating the sea, our job was nearly always at night. And with the navigating the sea without lights, and without the guidance of boys or lighthouses. But we managed, we did that all through the war. And I don't know what I can say about that job now, but tell you some of the more exciting kind of services that we had. In 1935, we went down to the Isle of Wight and took over a new lifeboat from a builder and sailed her up the Broughty Ferry. There was one or two small kind of jobbies the next 2 years, but the first real job was on January in 1937. The Coast Guard rung up one night and said the lightship at Abertay was in trouble, and there was a gale of wind out the southeast and a heavy sea, and we got a war down Tuller, and when we got down there, he told us she'd parted one of our cables, but she was still holding with other cable. And would we stand by her all night in case anything happened? So we stood by her all night until daylight come in the morning. And when the flood tide come up in the morning, she swung awa south clear of the breaking sea again. And we left her and come up. But that weather never cleared up properly. It kept blowing and blowing, and 10 days after that, on a Saturday, we had blizzard of snow out the sea. We got word again that the ship was in trouble again, and we get a war on the Saturday down Tuller and took 5 men off her. That was the crew of the light ship, and brought them back to Dundee. On December the 19th in 1938, the Coast Guard rang me up and told me that there was a big ship lying in a very dangerous position on the Ga Bank. And what we get now, and we get a war doing, and when we get doing, the pilot cutter was lying sheltering at the Budden Lights. And we spoke to the pilot cutter, and one of the pilots asked me if I would take a pilot aboard and try and put him aboard the ship. And at the harbour tug was to come down, and we were going to try to get that ship out in a dangerous position. So we took the pilot aboard, went down, and managed to put the pilot aboard there. Then we come, the tug was lying some distance away, and we come back to the tug and got a hawser and took it across and made it fast on the sailing bark, a big sailing ship belonging in Finland. And after that, the pilot told the skipper to slip his cable and leave it, and the tug pulled her then out in a dangerous position and brought her up to Dundee. They told us that they'd been across from Finland to somewhere in the channel with a cargo of props. And after discharging, they were going to walk back to the Finland again, and they actually saw the lights on the Danish coast. When the wind come away with the east, a gale of wind come away with the east, and blew them right across the North Sea again. And this night, they saw this heavy seas breaking, doing to lure to them, and they didn't get farther, so they let go of their anchor and lay all night. They were just lucky that they didn't strike the bank. If they struck the bank, they would have been lost, and the ship would have been lost anyway. So the ship was saved, and that was that. On December the 5th, 1939, that was the year the war started. That was our first service after the war. I was sitting reading a book at the fireside about 8 o'clock at night when the phone rang, and the Coast Guard at Carnoustie told me that they'd seen flares, distress flares coming from the direction of the Bell Rock. Well, no. They couldn't give me any more information than that, of course, but away we get. There was no firing guns at that time. Our Maroons had been put in the powder magazine in the castle. We wasn't allowed to fire guns nor show lights or anything of that kind. And we get away, steamed down the day without lights and making for the position of the Bell Rock. The Bell Rock was not lighted, of course, the light was put out. But after steaming a mile or two for the day bar, we could see this flare, we could see the flares. And we're steaming out now with no lights. But at the back of my mind, I was only frightened it was getting a bit too late, because our Broughty had only half the distance to go that we had to go. We're coming out, and we saw the flares, and we made out it was a trawler. We made out it was a trawler, and there was a service ship, a minesweeper or something of that kind, lying away east of the Bell Rock, and he had his searchlight on this trawler, and we could see the trawler, and we also saw their lifeboat. He was steaming out alongside the trawler, clear of the broken sea, and I think, well, there you are, we're too late now. Anyway, we made ready with anchor, pulled up our rudder in case that would get damaged, and kept steaming out slow now. And the lifeboat was steaming out slow, abreast of this ship, clear of the sea, and I think to myself now, when he gets out a certain distance, he'll let go his anchor and veer down until he's abreast of this ship and then try and get alongside. But he didn't do that. He after he got out to far he could have let go his anchor, he turned his head away to north again and took another turn. Well, by that time, of course, we was in a position. We did the very same as he was doing. We steamed out, when we got to the position that we thought we could had enough cable left to get to veer down alongside that ship, we let go of our anchor. We veered out our cable, then we'll come hard to starboard and with the heaviest breaking seas on the rock. And the cable was heading the boat's head to the sea, and every time that a heavy sea broke on the boat, we'll come ahead for just a minute or two with the engine, and hard to starboard, and that broke this but nearer, and a bit nearer to this trawler, till eventually we could throw a grappling aboard and got a grappling on her. But she was in an awkward position. The after port oar was completely sunk for the wheel who's the stem oar was sticking high up on the rock, and the crew was all right to the stem head oar in a bunch. We managed to get alongside, and the seas were coming now and regularly, and they were dangerous. They were beginning to wash our men along the deck, and we couldn't go right to the stem of the ship for the men was, because there was no water there for us. In fact, I could see the tangled tails whirling about in the water right to her stern. So I shouted to them on the trawler, "No men," I says, "we've done all that we can do. It's up to you now. Try and get a chance between the seas and run aft and jump aboard the lifeboat." Well, they were swear to try that because it was a dangerous thing to do, but it was the only thing they could do. After a while, two of them ran aft and climbed up on the rail of the trawler and jumped to the lifeboat. After they did that, they got aboard the lifeboat all right. The rest of them come, one and two at a time, until eventually, within half an hour, we had them all aboard. We cut our cable, it was on our grappling, and we swung our boats here to walk clear of the heavy seas now, and heaved on our cable, heaved up our anchor, come away round, and brought them back to Broughty Ferry. That was round about midnight we got home, and they were attending to the kirk hall and given dry clays and tea for the committee of women that was there for that job. They just, every time the lifeboat went out, this committee of women come into the hall and made ready for survivors. So that's the story of the Aberdeen trawler that was lost on the Bell Rock. It's still there yet, somewhere with the Bell Rock. Well, that's that. A month after that, on January the 6th, it was on a Saturday forenoon, we had dense fog. You could hardly see across the street, let alone across the river. I got word for the Coast Guard again that there was a ship of some kind in trouble down about the bar at tea. And we launched the boat and get away, and we were half doing the tafe, and we come to the pilot cutter, coming up, towing 2 or 3 lifeboats, ship's lifeboats full of men. And we get up alongside and asked, "Position, you see us, what was wrong?" And while we were there, the skipper of the ship that was in trouble, asked if we would take him and his officers aboard the lifeboat and put them back on board their ship. They apparently thought they'd made a mistake believing that. They struck a mine or something of that kind, and they got the wind up, and this crew of coolie seamen panicked and lowered the lifeboats and cleared out, and the whole crew cleared out and left the ship. Well, we took the skipper aboard and the officers and went down looking for the ship. And we found her anchored just clear of the bar, that was all. And we put them aboard to have a look. And they said if the damage wasn't too bad, they would stand by the ship. Well, we waited until they had an examination and told us that they were okay. They would stand by the ship until they got help. And we would report their position when we got back to the Navy authorities. So we come back now, and that was on a Saturday. Sunday morning, before I was out of my bed, I got the telephone rang, Harbour Master of Dundee calling me, asking if we would put a crew of coolies aboard the ship with a lifeboat again. So I said we would. So we launched the lifeboat and we went alongside the pier. And down come the coolies on a bus. And when they come to the end of the pier, look at over and saw the lifeboat, they just went right back to the bus again. No, they wouldn't go doing in that. They'd go doing in a tug, but they wouldn't go doing in that little thing. Well, there was the fellow in charge of them had a confab with him, and he got a couple of them to say they would go. So we took them aboard the lifeboat and took them down and put them back on board the ship again. The harbour tug was there, and two other tugs, two private tugs that was in Dundee at that time. And they got their hawsers aboard the ship, and they brought her back to Dundee. That was the City of Marseille, he called that ship. Well, on January the 30th, the next year, 1940, I got word that there was a ship on the Broughty bank. And on a Saturday, a very cool day, and we got a word doing, and we saw a ship aground on the south side of the Broughty bank. They've been scared, they've been coming towards the day, and they've been scared we have a German plane messing about out there, and they gotten scary and they come in, and they just lost their bearings altogether. Instead of coming in the channel, they landed on the top of the Broughty bank abreast of the light ship. It was a very cool day, and we did it again right out over the bar and run on along the bank until we got to that ship. Or to a desperate job, try and cross the bank and get to her that way without getting out over the bar of all. It was a bit of a chance we might have had enough water to float the boat between the broken of the seas, the troughs and the seas. But we tried that. Went across, and we got across the bank all right. And we get water wind there and let go our anchor again. But our anchor wouldn't have had on the top of that bank. The seas was too much for it. It was bringing our anchor weird. So we had to heave up our anchor again and come and try some other thing. Well, by that time, the tide was flowing, the ship had shifted a little, and she was right broadside onto the sea in that time now, and managed to get up alongside our lee side. And they threw a scrambling net, they put a scrambling net over the side of the ship, and two of them stood on the scrambling net and watched a chance and jumped for the lifeboat when the sea lifted the lifeboat. Well, one of the men missed his grip and he fell in the water between the lifeboat and the ship. And by luck, we managed to get the big boat hook out in time and clip him as he was floating past, or he was a gunner. That was the Standcourt of London. She had a crew of 21. We took the 21 men off her on the Saturday and come back with them. The next service, any consequence, was on January the 30th, 1940. April the 3rd, I should say. April the 3rd. 1940. I got word for the Coast Guard again at the middle of the night, saying that there was a ship in trouble about the Bell Rock somewhere. Well, it was a course night. A course night, and we got away and we got out. There was no light on the Bell Rock, of course, but before we got it to the Bell Rock, we got in touch with them with wireless and asked them what was wrong. So they told us there was no ship on the Bell Rock. And well, I says, that's the word that we got, there was a ship in trouble about the rock. No, he says, there's no trouble, no, nothing wrong here. So we couldn't have come back now because we couldn't have come back to the River of Ah. Once we went to it, we had to bide out of the sea all night. There was no leading lights to guide you back into the entrance again. Except you had a crew of survivors aboard, and they would put up the wooden lights for 10 minutes or so to let you get ahead of the channel. But this night there was no means of getting back. So we lay between the Bell Rock and the River Tay all night, intending when daylight come on in the morning to hear a boat to see if there was anything in trouble anyway. Well, daylight come on in the morning now, and we were looking about, and we got sick to a ship round about the bar Tay. And when we come towards her, we found a big ship, a big Belgian ship there. We are anchored out. And we get up alongside her, well, near alongside her, but near enough to speak, to shout to them and ask what was wrong. And the skipper said that they didn't get far they were, and they'd been in a convoy outside the Bell Rock somewhere, and something had happened in that convoy. They were attacked somewhere or other, and they were all dispersed. And he didn't get right far he was. How he got in there, I don't ken. But there he was. And he said he was for America. The Emily Francois, Antwerp, that was her name. And he said he had 8 passengers aboard, and would we take them off and land them? And he would bide with the ship and the crew there until help would come. So we took the 8 passengers off. We a little bit of trouble because they weren't a seamen, and landed them. Next day, we got another request to come and take the crew off the ship the next day. So off we get, and we took the crew off next. We landed 45 for that ship, but the skipper and the officers were aboard. I told them that I would report their position to the naval folk here, and they would do something about it. There was plenty of naval ships in Dundee, but they couldn't go out. It was a heavy sea, and they wouldn't go to Dundee. But I think they could come for the Firth of Forth. So they did. They come for the Firth of Forth, and they towed her there. Well, the really stern experiences that happened during the war, of course. And there was quite a lot of little minor things that happened after that, of course. And that finished the lifeboat. I was getting on in that time now. In 1956, I was 65, and that was the recognised retiring age, and I retired in 56 when I was 65. I didn't want to retire, I just had to. They said it was a general order and it had to be done. Well, I went in the lifeboat for another year with another coxswain. But I wasn't keen about getting a man on deck after being skipper of the lifeboat. Another thing, I thought I would have been consulted if there'd been jobs to do, and I didn't want to be consulted. That was for the man in charge of the boat to use his own discretion at a job. Well, I went for a year. And they carried on after that, of course. They got another man and they carried on. Then one night, a koersnecht and all, they went out to the North Car lightship. She'd broken her anchor and she was adrift. And the Lanston went into that. And that was the last that ever was heard of her. I mean, she got on the bar, she got in some kind of trouble on the bar. I don't know exactly what happened. But there was no word for the lifeboat, and they kept calling all night, and the Coast Guards, but they couldn't get any word for her. And the daylight coming in the morning, she was found on the sands at the back of the Budden. she'd upset during the night, and the whole crew was drowned. So I consider I was lucky. I was in there for 23 and a half years I was in there, and there you are, about a year after I left, I lost a life. Well, all in all, I've had a very interesting life and quite a lot of excitement. But I'm getting on now, of course. In another 12 months I'll be 88, and just nothing much to do now but sit and read the fireside, of course. But my mind often goes back to the days. My memory it'll never be wiped from my memory. The days of the First World War and then the lifeboat job coming up after that. Still, that's life. So that's that. I'll tell you another little story now. How we got our breakfast for the sea one morning. It was after we'd come back for that job we did to the stone court and took 20 men off for. We could see mysterious kind of things floating in the river, but you didn't investigate too close one thing we saw in the river at that time. So we come back to the shed, and we had some difficulty getting the boat rehoused because the ropes weren't out. But I put out the anchor and managed to get the boat rehoused with anchor, but we couldn't get the anchor back again because it was a wad down the beach with the weight of low water, and it wasn't low water till the middle of the night. So we made it up, we'd get up about 1 o'clock in the morning and come down and open the shed and bring the anchor up off the beach and put it aboard the boat and ready for the sea again. Well, we get up at 1 o'clock and come down, open the shed doors, and here's a big box lying, a big flat box lying on the platform outside the door. And the top of it was a kind of damaged, and we could see tins inside. So we got the rest of the top off and had a look. It was half a dozen of tins of ham. Snow. The road was covered with snow, and we hurled it around. You'd have seen the mark on the road all the way along, and the Ninos could carry it. Only while we're still debating, when a flashlight comes on the sea, a bovey comes on the sea, and we have a flashlight. Hello, he says, what's going on here? And we look it up and saw him. Of course, we kent him. We kent all the bovies at that time. I says, hello, Dixon. Look at this. This is a bottle of butter we picked up off the beach. And we're wondering how we're going to get along the shed. We can't carry it, it's too heavy. And he says, say heave with it. And we managed to heave it up on his shoulder, and he carried it along. We put it in the shed. Well, one of the men had gone westwards for the shed, and we went east. And he come back shortly after that with a box of eggs. There we were now. That was our breakfast, ham and eggs. So we took a tin of ham each. But let's see now. Oh, we picked up another box of ham up to that time. So we took a tin of ham each and divided the eggs out and get away off the house. And they'll just left the butter in the barrel unopened till Dixon would get his share out in the morning. So we'll come down next day. We've been at our bed with a little rising, and when we got up, coming down 4th Street, there was women and bairns. There were with prams and sledges. They were hauling butter up 4th Street. Nain barrel, just lumps of butter. The barrel had broken up, and the butter was just a lump of butter floating about. But that was okay when the outside was clean. There was nothing wrong with it. Well, the ebb tide come out, and we saw things floating about in the river, and we get out, launch the boat and get away after them, and we picked up, I think, how many boxes of that ham we picked up and brought it back to the shed. And there was a lot of soldiers built it in the ferry at that time, and they were coming on about and asking for a share of the ham, and we gave them a ton of ham, and there was a lot of women coming on, and they were looking for a share of the ham, and I didn't know how many tons of ham we handed out in the shed that day. And we kept another ton to ourselves, of course. That was two tons. Then the receiver of X come down after that and commandeered the whole lot. So that was the story of the butter and the eggs. That was an Estonian ship that was coming across the Firth of Forth, and he was bombed or sunk with a mine at the open of the Firth of Forth, and Southeast Gale brought his cargo ashore. A lot had landed in the Tay, but there was more landed in St Andrews Bay, of course. And the Air Force, their Air Force folk at Lucas, they just put up a red flag at each side of the beach to keep everybody off the beach, and went down with their wagons and loaded them up and took them up to the aerodrome. So that's the story of the butter and eggs. We didn't see much of the Jerrys, of course, during the war, except when they come over at night and drop bombs. They'd come over a while and steady under long after the war was started. Every night you could hear in over and over Dundee. And Jimmy was in the hospital at that time, and they used to take the bairns for the wars and took them down to the basement when this fella was messing about up in them. There were several bombs dropped in Dundee. There was not a lot, there was several. But there was one night, there was in come over, and the trawlers didn't obey it at that time. They thought the weather was fine. The trawlers come in and they lay at the Budden all night, and then they could do it next morning, daylight again. There's 3 or 4 of them lying at the Budden, and this fella come over in the dark now, a Jerry, and he flying over the towards the Budden. He noticed something on the water. He wasn't very sure what it was, I suppose. He carried on and over the Budden, and he turned and he come back again, and he was going to make sure what this was now when he was coming back, and he was so low that his wing touched the masthead in the trawlers, and there was 2 or 3 bombs that fell on the trawler's deck, and he plunked in the river. He was never heard tell again. I never heard nor kent on anybody get nothing off over. But the man had to be taken out of that trawler, and until daylight, and then the naval folk come down and took the bombs away. None of them burst. The thing was so low that I suppose they'd fallen on their broadsides or something of that kind. Anyway, that's how he finished up. My day night, I was Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, I get away to here walk along the sands a bit, as far as the Shelley, and I'm coming back now, and I just was crossing the road right at the bottom of St Vincent Street, and I come round the corner at the bottom of the red house yonder, and I could see right along the beach, and when I looked along, I heard a plane. Here's a plane coming fleeing down the riverside, very low down, and he was firing guns all the way down towards the ferry, the houses. And when I saw him firing, I think it was a Jerry, and I got down and I lay on the pavement right up against the wall, and I looked up when he was passing, and I could see the black crosses on his wings. And when he get away, flew away eastwards, I get a war and midway to the house in case there would be any word come to me about him coming down the sea or anything of that kind. But there was nothing. But there was another man come to the door. He says, hey, there's a plane on fire and he's flown away easter there, he's flown over the castle and he'll be down in the water somewhere. I says, that's all right. I says, I can about that plane. I saw him and it's a Jerry. And that was all it was about, of course. There was another time we'd gotten some damage to the boat with some of the bad services we were on, and we had to take her down the bucky for to get a thorough overhaul. And the morning come now to take the boat away to bucky. We could do in the water with the trawlers, but the trawlers never went out. It was southeast wind was knocking all morning, and the sea was getting up. The trawlers never get out. They bed in that day. But we put on our light belts and went out and headed away north. And when we got as far as Steenhigh, the Toad Head, it was a course day for the southeast again. Only while we kept going and till we come to Aberdeen, and then we're getting to Aberdeen for the night. And there was a air raids in Aberdeen somewhere there. Even we was there anyway. Air raids every night. We were in Aberdeen that night. There was neither naval minesweepers going or anything that kind. There was a storm in that time. And come another day, still the same weather, no bit better. So we buried that next, and that was 2 nights. The third morning we get a walk down to Buckatory to have a look at the sea to see if it like it was. Well, it wasn't a very much better. And we didn't. He only thought of leaving that day, but something happened that made us leave. When we was coming up past the Tory dock, we decided to go aboard the lifeboat and see if she was okay. She was lying in the Tory dock alongside of some trawlers. And we were crossing the decks of this trawler now, when our plane comes for the south side, over the hill, Girdleness way, and we could see him dropping bombs. We saw 12 bombs dropping out in our bottom, and they carried right over the top of us, and they fell in the links. And that put the wind up us properly now. I said, I think we've been here long enough now. I think we'll clear out of here. So we did. We cleared out. And we were bound for Bucky, and we didn't we wouldn't get Bucky that day. It was too far to go. It was a short day. It was midwinter. But we headed away north, and there was a very heavy sea brought on Rattery Head that day. I mean, it was just like the tape bar seas it was broken. We got round Rattery, and we got round Kinnaird Head, and we're mocking up the Firth now. But daylight was just going to beat us. And if we hadn't gotten in somewhere, before it grew dark, of course, we'd lie in the sea all night. I didn't like the idea of that up there. So we got away west as far as got the west of the Troop Head, and we opened up Macduff Harbour. There was just enough daylight to get into Macduff, and we went in there and carried on to Bucky the next day. That's about all that I can mind about it now. Now I can mind another story worth telling, I think. When we were coming home with a boat for Bucky, coming over the Gaw, we saw a little boy floating, red painted, I think it was. It was a little pointed boy. And of course we never took any notice of that, because you could see all kind of queer things floating about at that time. And we come up and we put the boat in the shed. And we took another boat about a sandbank that we were using for a standby then. and she was at the pier all ready to go on next morning. We got up early next morning to go on, and there was a hefty explosion somewhere about the beach. We didn't know what it was, but we soon found out what it was. It was one of the same kind of things that we saw the day before. Had been washed up on the beach at the bottom of Dundee Street, and Watson or some of them at bed there saw the thing, and they reported to the police. And the police come down, and they said nobody was to go near it and touch it. And they put a young policeman there just to stand by so nobody would interfere with that until the naval folk come down and dealt with it. Well, that young policeman got tired waiting, I suppose, and he thinks he'd be more comfortable up in the police station than standing on the beach. So it had a ring and it stopped. The top of the buoy had a ring on it, and he took a hold of the ring and he pulled it up the beach. It wasn't a heavy thing, but he couldn't carry it, he could pull it. He pulled it up the beach and up the little dyke and across the road. And he was just starting up Dundee Street when it rolled onto the curb and exploded and blew him into 1,000 bits. His very boot was blown off his feet. Them that saw the thing told me after that. Anyway, we had a job to do, and away we get. We get well with us boating out Sandbank on the Clyde. And we got Grangemouth before darkness, and up at the first reach of the canal. But the canal didn't work after 6 o'clock at night, so we was in that reach. We couldn't go any further. But we were just going to bide in the boat on it. We weren't going to bother with legends and anything that kind. But the air raid sirens went, and everybody was running for shelter. And of course we did the same. We made for a shelter, and we was in a shelter in Grangemouth the rest of that night. We got on the road next morning again, and we got as far as Kirkintilloch. That's about half through the canal, maybe a little more than half. And we were held up there again, because they didn't work after 6 at night, and we were held up there for the night. Well, as soon as it got dark, off went air raid sirens again, and over comes Jerry. It was right on Clyde Bank. Oh, and you could see the shells bursting over the shop of the sky. And you could hear the bombs dropping, and it was an awful rocket. Anyway, we was in the boat that night, and we just stood by it on the canal, intended to go on next morning, but next morning come, we were told the canal was closed. There's nobody allowed on the canal until they had a thorough examination out. So there we were trapped in Kirkintilloch. We used to go up to a service coffee place of some kind yonder and get our dinner, and at night we went to Kirk Hall, and we got coffee and beans and toast. Every night we got that there. Was there 2 or 3 days. Then we got orders we could go on the road again. So we got up one morning, as soon as daylight came on, we got away at the road and got down to Bowling. That's the outlet of the canal at that end again, the Clyde end. But we could see a lot of signs of heavy bombing when we were sailing through Clyde Bank. And the naval, you had to see the naval officer about before you go out the canal. So I saw the naval officer, and he told me to proceed, but to go with caution between number 8 and number 12 buoys, because the belief that there was stuff dropped there about the planes, and they didn't get what was in the river. Well, there was a big naval transport thing going down past Bowling at that time, and we come out just when he was past, and we tailed him up, we was staring on him about, and he was getting off a connie. Of course we watched, we didn't come over near him. But when he come to number 12 boy, he set away. And visibility wasn't very good, and I'd never been to the Clyde, and I wanted to keep in touch with this thing to get a pilot doing the Clyde game as far as Dunoon. And so when we saw him setting away, he was beginning to leave us now. I says, open the route now, and we'll keep this fella in sight. We opened out the engine, and immediately we did that, our stern was maybe 3/4 of a mile, there was a terrific explosion. We didn't get what it was, of course. We just carried on. But there was an explosion there then. And we got to Sandbank that day, and we come home on a train. And I told the naval authorities in Dundee about that caper and the Clyde, that explosion. He says there's no doubt about it that you revving up your engine, it set up one of those acoustic mines. Just needed a certain note, and the note was there between you going slow and revving up full. That was what up there. That detonated that mine. So that was another experience anyway. And that's all in the meantime. Now I think I'll tell you about the longest service we had and the most trying service we had during the war. There was a minesweeper off Montrose one Sunday, just coming down dark, one Sunday night, when there was a Jerry that spotted him and dropped bombs. Well, he didn't hit him, but it was near misses, and it put his machinery in order, and it put his windlass in order. He couldn't let go his anchor. So Montrose lifeboat was alerted, and by this time he was washing nearer and nearer Montrose Bay, which was and a mess with heavy seas, of course. And Montrose lifeboat launched, and of course when they got out, they thought it was too dark to go down go into the bay there, because there was no lights, no way to guide them on the thing. So they made for the open sea anyway. We'll learn that after. They made for the open sea, but their shore station that kept calling them up couldn't get an answer for them, and they didn't ken what had come of them. She just launched and got out, and that was the last that they could. Had to go in touch with. They tried over and over again to get in touch with, and they couldn't get. So then the Coast Guard informed me about bedtime, about that business, about Montrose lifeboat going out, and they hadn't got in touch with her. And well, I says, what can we do about it? I said, I can't do nothing about it. I says, we can't launch and go out in there and mess about in Montrose Bay looking for a lifeboat with an act like this. You'd have to be up against her before you saw her, and we couldn't show lights in that kind either. But I says, you should have a look along the bay, Montrose Bay, and see if there's only stuff washing ashore. And if anything's happened with the lifeboat, there'll be something washed ashore. So they said they would do that. And he rang me up in the middle of the night again, and he said, there's still no word of Montrose lifeboat. Well, I says, if there's still no word of the lifeboat, by the time of daylight begins to break in the morning, we'll launch and come down. So he rang me up when daylight just began to break, and he told me there's still no word of Montrose lifeboat. Okay, I says, we'll go. So we launched, and we went down off Montrose. I saw the ship was ashore. She was lying end on, but there was a mile of broken sea, or 3/4 of a mile of broken sea, between her and us, at least. And now I wonder if the men still on board that ship. If they are, I would be willing to chance going in there, but I doubt if we would get how will we get out again? How we took a crew out in a minesweeper, we'll never stem this heavy sea and this on Montrose Bay and get clear again. We'll maybe hit a run the boat ashore. But I would have been willing for that even, if I had been sure that the crew was on the ship. But I minded it was low water at 8 o'clock that morning, on Monday morning. Now it's possible if that ship was washing up our neck, they had got the crew or at low water with the breeches buoy. I didn't ken that, of course, because well, it was out order as well. We could hear Dundee Harbour calling us. They were our shore station at that time. They were calling us, but we couldn't reply. We were replying, but they weren't getting us. Our transmitter was out order as well. But I learned after, of course, that that was actually what happened. That they were cleaning out that ship at low water on the Monday morning. And when we saw, there was nobody in there. Only why we didn't ken all that. And we searched Montrose Bay for 2 or 3 hours, right down as far as the north end did, and until the middle of the afternoon. And still no sign of anything, and no word in anything. We couldn't reply, and we couldn't get no news for the shore because they simply called us. They didn't give us no news. If they'd given us news, we would have got it. But when they weren't getting a reply, they thought their broadcast wasn't reaching us, but it was. Only why it was getting well on now the day, and we've been out since 7 o'clock that morning, and I began to think it's time that we was on tracks for him now, because we hadn't seen nothing here all day, we want to see nothing in the dark. So we turned our south for the River Tay again. It was very misty and hazy for that, and there was still blowing a heavy, strong wind from the southeast. And we didn't see a thing all the way for the north end of Montrose Bay until we thought we were in the vicinity of the Tay Bar. Yes, we did see something. We got a glimpse of the Reed Head on the road south. We got a glimpse of that. Then we carried on for there, of course, and afterwards, onward distance, I thought, when we should have been near the Tay Bar, I heard some of the men saying that the seas were getting half a high and half a heavy, and that we were inshore somewhere, we were coming towards the Gar Bank somewhere. Well, I didn't think that. I thought we were clear of the banks. But I says, I'll slow down the engine, put our heat to sea, and get out the sounding lead and try and get across to the water. So they did that. Got across to the water, and they got 13 fathom. Now, the depth of water at the fairway buoy is 12 fathom, and we'd 13 fathom, so we was well outside the fairway buoy. But we couldn't see nothing. All we could see was great big brutes of seas breaking all around the booties, and they were breaking for the ground even far we was sometimes. No, it was a case now. We would hate to run on a bit and try and see if we could pick up that buoy. But there was a big risk in that. You would maybe run on and be tempted to run a wee bit further, and after you found out you'd missed the buoy or you hadn't seen it, you couldn't come out again, because after you ran a certain distance there and I'm at that sea, you couldn't turn the boat and come out again. The boat had been upset on the top of you before you got her halfway round the boat. I didn't like the idea of that at all. That was taking an unnecessary risk, I reckon. And there was no life, there was no lives to be saved, but it meant that we might lose the life if we tried that. So I think I'm not going to run on there without a sea some guide of some kind to the channel. But I says there's a little reed like day on the Car rocks, for the Car lightship used to be moored. She was away, of course, and there was a boy put down with a very low red light on it. I says, I think we should head away south now and try and get rid of that red light on the car boy. And if we see that, we'll get underneath the mine and we'll lie there. Well, that was the plan we adopted now. We get away south, and we couldn't afford to keep too far to sea because we would have missed the light and we would have been proper lost. We wouldn't have gone far over because we'd alter course 2 or 3 points after we got round that light for May Island. But we're keeping a lookout and getting very, very anxious when we got sick to the lighty. We saw the little red lighty blinking. That was all right. We got round about it and we altered for the May Island. It was dark at this time now. And there was no light on the May or nothing of that kind of good, but I can't we would see the loom of the land of the May before we struck it anyway. We carried on south and we picked up the loom of the May and we got under leeward. For there was no breaking seas. There was a heavy swell, but there was no breaking seas. We burst the May Island to try and get in communication with somebody to tell them where we was, so as they could send word to Dundee or Broughty Ferry for the lifeboat were, because they didn't know where we was. We'd been out all day, and it was dark at night now, and still we wasn't back again, and there was no reply face from any of the stations. Well, what was we going to do now? We didn't get a reply for them. Well, we could have anchored there, but there was a risk of anchoring in the sea with weather like that because there was a dose of mines adrift with the southeast gales. And I didn't like the idea of lying there at anchor with it. I says, we'll run up the firth. So we might run up the firth. So had a war south, well clear of the Fife coast, which was the weather side, and put up our lights and run up the firth. And was getting up the firth now about maybe an hour when we were stopped with a Morse lamp flashing. And after he flashed, we replied with a flash. Then he asked, what ship? And we said we was the Broughty Ferry lifeboat. We'd been out all day and our fuel was getting finished. And could we get through the boom gates between Enschede and the Fife coast and get to Granton to be refueled? We lay for a while. We never saw the ship. We lay for a while until we got a reply. And the reply we got was, suggest you make for Methil Anchorage. Well, no, we didn't know exactly far Methil was before we was, and you needed some guide of some kind running towards the weather shore. And I asked him the course to Methil. He said, steer on north or west. We did that. We steered on north or west. And we eased the boat down a bit and kept a sharp lookout for only like the only kind. After we'd run on for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, we saw something right ahead, a lightning in the sky. It wasn't an ocular light, it was like the reflection of light. And I think now Methil is a coal port, and there's quite a lot of those little engines on the quays for hauling about wagons, and that's possibly a fireman opening his furnace door and throwing on coal, and that's what you see when that when that door is open. And that's what we thought it was, but we kept going slower and slower until we eventually made out what it was. Well, it was the sea hitting the breakwater at Methil and going high up in the air, and we could see the white the sprays had come down again. It was lighter than the darkness. So we come full speed astern now. and had I want to see again, the way would come. And soon at the water until we got 6 fathom of water. I think we were safe enough there with 6 fathom of water. So I let go the anchor. Let go the anchor, intending to lie there until daylight come on in the morning. We set the watch, 2 men on a watch, and all the rest just lying about with their oilskins on, of course, sleeping, trying to sleep. But before I get a while below, I took the hand line, the sounding line, aft, and threw it right out of Bristow's as far as I could throw it. And I says, now, watch this line on next now. And if this line leads a wall for it, between the boat and the lead, that means that we're anchors nae hidden, we're being driven astern. But it never moved all night. No, but and then we had some of the lifeboat provisions too. We had a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something of that kind. Then we wondered now what was wrong. We wasn't getting Dundee wasn't getting us when we replied to them, and we thought it's maybe for want of power. So we uncoupled the leads from the starting batteries of the engine and coupled them onto the transmitter, and we transmitted a message, broadcast a message. If anybody could hear this, we'll get through to Dundee and tell them that the lifeboat is anchored off a methyl, all well. Because we didn't kind of, the broadcast was, we were sending it to it, but we didn't kind of was getting it, but it got it. Somebody picked it up, some of the service ships there about, I suppose, and they got through to Dundee, told them far away. So that relieved with folk in Dundee to ken it was okay and lying off a metal. Well, next morning now, daylight come on, and up anchor and into metal. There we learned that Montrose lifeboat had come towards Montrose late on the afternoon, just after we'd left it. And when they were running about at Montrose, they washed 12 men overboard. But they were washed up in Montrose Bay and taken to the infirmary. They weren't lost. They saved the life. But that put the wind up where Ian put with him, of course, when we were missing. But after that, of course, when they got the message as far as they were okay. So first thing we do was to refuel the lifeboat, and we went up to the Fishermen's Institute and we got dry clothing, inside place, and we stayed there for the night. Left next morning for him. We come out and steamed down the Firth. Oh, the wind was less, but there was a very heavy swell. Steamed down the Firth, round the car, and after we got round the car, we began to see far the Tay-bar, far the Tay-bar should bear, an awful lot of mist. This was of course, it wasn't a mist, it was the spray, fine spray. There's either on the bar, with fine spray with bad weather. And it was just about low water at that time, not much more than low water, a wee bit of a flood. I mean, one of the men said to me, what are we going to do now? Because there was still a very heavy sea on the bar. What are we going to do? We'll wait a couple or 3 years until the water swells a bit. I says, no, we're nae waiting a while. I says, if you lie and look at that, you'll just frighten yourself out. I says, we'll gang away at the window and we'll let go the drug and we'll run the bar. So that's what we did. We run the bar, okay. And got him. About, just about dinner time, thereabout. Well, that was a trying service, a fatiguing service, and there was decisions to make, which meant a great lot. There was a decision about whether to go on the truck and see there's men still aboard that trawler. There was a decision about whether we should go on with the sea and try and find out if we could find the boy. There was another decision at the Isle of May whether we should anchor there or whether we should up the fun. So, and I think I took all the three decisions was the right things, I think. Well, I was at that boat's wheel for 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. I could have gotten a spell, but I didn't want a spell because my mind was fully occupied watching the boat in the sea, and I was steering, and I wanted that, and I did that. But that was the most fatiguing service that we had. So I think that's about all that I can record now. So that's that again.